Hey everybody, Mike Johnson, Pwinsidertv here, and I'm not even going to mince words. The voice of a generation, and the voice of the WWE generation, voice of Madison Square Garden and many other venues for many other years, and now one of the cast members, stars of WWE Legends House on the WWE Network, Howard Finkel. How the heck are you?
Mike, I am doing terrific. It's been a great time here where we are in New York City, and it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Is it a little weird to have a bunch of wrestlers in a fancy steakhouse?
I think so, because I'm used to hamburger and not the finest steak in the world.
So WWE Legends House, you get to be a cast member, and it's kind of apropos because for many years you were part of sort of the lighter side of WWE. They want to put Hair Club for Men on Howard. Let's do it. Tuxedo match with Harvey Whippleman. Let's put Howard in there. So even though you were the voice, you also got to do a lot of the silly, lighthearted stuff. So it kind of makes sense to put you in here. When they first approached you about being in the cast, what was your first reaction?
Why me?
Really?
Point blank, why me? Because I never really put the tights on. I mean, I honed my craft and I contributed to this industry on a different level than going into the ring every night and risking my life, although sometimes I risk my life. But by the same token, there were so many worthy competitors, and I'm again in-ring competitors that I thought, certainly would be more deserving of myself. So when they asked me if I would be a part of Legends House, again, I said, why me? But after further discussion, it made perfect sense to get there and embark on a journey that I will never forget.
Now, we just watched the first episode, the premiere of the first episode, a couple of days before it airs on the network. What were you expecting, and what were your thoughts as you watched yourself? Because I'm sure this is different than seeing yourself ring announcing.
Well, I went in with a mantra to Legends House of to expect the unexpected. I had no idea what we were going to do. I remember when this was done, there was a newspaper in Palm Springs, California. We stayed in Rancho Mirage. Of course, that's where the house was. That had this story on the house. They went to the house, they showed the house in a video piece. So I got a little bit of a glimpse of the house. And then they said in the story, we're going to be doing all kinds of things, like, for instance, hot air balloons. I froze. I wasn't going to go up in a hot air balloon. So,
are you afraid of heights?
To a point, I am. But by the same token, I've never been in a hot air balloon. I'll do anything. I'll try anything. But this is just some situations that were in my mind. That never materialized, by the way. But by the same token, I just didn't know what I was going to be getting into, yet I was ready for any challenge that was going to come my way. Quoting the great Pedro Morales, I was ready for any kind of action.
Now, obviously, it's well known you were the first official employee of WWE. We'll say WWE just for simplicity's sake, but we all know the other initials. So I don't think I've ever heard the story. How did you first get involved in professional wrestling?
Reader's Digest version, because I know you have very little tape left on your machine here. Back in the early 1970s, I was an usher in New Haven, Connecticut at the New Haven Coliseum. Wrestling came in 1972. I was tickled pink because I was a huge fan of the industry back then. But I also got to realize something, that back in those days, if you didn't have local television in your market, then you would be committing suicide by running a live event with no television.
Still the same today in a lot of ways.
Without a doubt. So I was a big fan. I used to, and I lived in the New Haven area, I would take rabbit ears trying to pull in WOR or WNJU TV from Newark. And then in 1974, mid to late 1974, forgive me on my dates, Channel 67, which is a UHF station out of Long Island, was coming in clear as a bell over across Long Island Sound into the Connecticut area, my area. And I'm saying, well, geez, what a discovery this is. Let's get wrestling back. That was my feeling. So I went to the building manager of the building in New Haven, and I said, Mr. Smith, his name was Laura Smith, I don't know if you realize this or not, but wrestling is on in this marketplace, and I think maybe you should let the promotion know that we should get him back if we can. Now, my opinion meant diddly bop, so I thought. But of course, good promoters always keep in touch with building managers just to keep the fires burning. Well, Laura Smith talked to Vince McMahon.
This is senior or
junior?
Okay, it's junior. Okay.
And or Vincent K. McMahon, if you will.
Right.
And he said to Vince, he said, I have this fella who is an absolute nut for your product. His name is Howard Finkel, and he tells me there's a UHF station that comes and clears the bell into this area, which brings the product in. And he goes, oh, really? And of course, one thing that I've always had the utmost respect for Vince McMahon is he's never not tried to do things as far as taking a gamble on things.
Yeah, Vince has taken a couple of chances.
Yes, he has. But by the same token, he said to me, Mr. Smith said the situation to Vince, and Vince said, I want to meet Howard. So they came back in 1975 with a show in New Haven. Now, it didn't sell out, but it had a very healthy crowd, and I got to meet Vince McMahon. And he was very appreciative of my fervent feelings for wrestling. And once that first meeting was over, I got his phone number, and I tell you what, I was on cloud nine, And then as time went on, we talked a little bit, and I told him about my history, that I did public address announcing back in my high school days, and I went to a broadcasting school. So he said, well, let's see if we can give you a chance to be a ring announcer. So I debuted in 1976 in Worcester, Massachusetts. That was my very first wrestling card. I then did some cards in New Haven at the Coliseum where I was based. So it was like the local boy made good. And then after a little bit of grooming, Vince went to his father and he said, I've got this guy who's working for me in Connecticut. Let's give him a shot. January 17th, 1977, Howard Finkel made his ring announcing debut in Madison Square Garden. And I guess the old slogan is, the rest is history.
It was you were kind of doing them a favor, and it's kind of paid forward for you for the rest of your life.
Did it ever.
That's crazy. Wow. What's the key to being a great ring announcer?
Wow. A key to being a great ring announcer, in my estimation, is always keep your style the way you have. It took me a while to perfect my style, but always exhibit a passion, because it's redundant. Night after night, you do the same thing. You have to always be upbeat. You always have to maintain a passion for what you're doing in there. Hit all the highs, never hit the lows, inflect to the best of your ability, and just make sure that when you're in that ring, make sure the talents are treated no matter. And I said this in my Hall of Fame speech, Mike. I said, I want to treat everybody, no matter where they were in the card. If they were in the opening match or the main event, I wanted to give them the best ring announcement I could ever possibly give them. Everybody was on an even playing field with me.
So, you just hit 30 WrestleManias. You're probably the only guy to appear in all 30 WrestleManias.
On camera.
On camera. Well, obviously Vince was at all of them, but there's a couple of others too.
Other people, Pat Patterson, Jerry Briscoe,
so,
etc.
That was a big part of the theme for this year's WrestleMania was, we've lost a lot of track of time having all this fun. What does it mean to you to have been the only guy to appear at, to be the institution at every WrestleMania in some fashion?
I cherish that accolade. I truly cherish that accolade. I've had a few moments in this industry that I love so much to this day. So it means the world to me, and I sincerely hope that I can continue to, make my annual cameo, because that's what I call it, and I understand, and I'm cool with that, at WrestleManias to come. It's an honor that I dearly cherish.
So if they ask you to come back for a second season of Legends House, you ready to jump in?
Without a doubt. You
gonna bring Joey Styles with you, maybe?
Oh my God. Well, you never know. That would be cool, but I don't know if there's a second season of Legends House and they ask me back, I would be willing to do it. But I wonder, I don't know if you can bring the entire cast back or bring some new blood in there. I don't have a clue, but maybe it's a little bit of mix and match.
Well, Howard, we thank you for your many years of dedicated service to the business, and thank you for sitting down talking to us about Legends House today.
Mike, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate the opportunity as always.